Hi, I'm Sheriff Redman. So I've been in law enforcement for almost about 29 years. I actually started in the United States Air Force. I grew up in Los Angeles. That's where I went to high school, grew up there. Tried my hand at going to college for about a semester, which is really what got me into the Air Force, because my dad and my mom were like, okay, you're either going to go to college full-time or you're going to get a job full-time. So I chose the full-time job of going to the United States military, which was probably the best thing for me. Wanted to be an aircraft mechanic, and they said, poof, you're a security policeman in law enforcement. So that's kind of what started my career. After my time in the Air Force, I ended up joining the Los Angeles Police Department when I got out, and I was there for a couple of years. My wife is originally from Sonora, and really that's what is my connection to the Gold Country, is through my wife. And she and I met actually in the military in Germany. She was also an SP, security police, in the Air Force. She was there, she was in for 5 years, I was in for 4. And I tell everybody I went to Germany to meet a California girl. But we've been married for 31 years now.
Does she hold that over your head, that she was in longer than you were?
A little bit, since she actually did outrank me. And I'm pretty open with the fact that it doesn't matter that I'm Sheriff of Amador County, she still outranks me.
She's the boss.
She's the boss. But that's why I've been married for 31 years.
Absolutely. So you moved to Germany, and you met your wife, and then you went to LA, right? And so you were in LA? Or
yes, correct. So after the Air Force, we came back and moved back to LA, and I was actually working for my dad at the time. My grandfather started a company called Redman Equipment back in 1962, and they built heat exchangers for the oil refineries. So I was a welder, fabricator, doing that, and the economy was really bad in 1992 is when I got out. So a law enforcement job is you would show up for one position and there would be 3,000 people wanting to get that job.
Oh, wow.
Extremely difficult. So it took me until 1995 to really get in. And the process with LAPD was about a year. So I started the academy in January of '96.
Awesome. And how long were you there for?
So I did 2 years LAPD and really enjoyed it. I loved the agency. I loved working where I was at. There was a lot of excitement, there was a lot going on, a lot of opportunities, but I had spent so much time in Sonora visiting her family that I really grew to love the Gold Country in this area. So I started looking at agencies up here, and I looked at Tuolumne and Calaveras and Amador, and really what brought me to Amador was the people. I did some ride-alongs, and they all seemed to be really happy. And not only the people that worked here, but it was the community. My interaction with people was so different than what I was used to that I was like, wow, what an awesome opportunity. I get to do what I love. Because I would have done this job for free if I could. That's how much of a passion I've had for law enforcement. And the people are great. You know, they wave to me, and with all their fingers. It's awesome. You know.
They don't tell you you're number one. They give you a 5. Hey,
exactly.
Hey, how are you?
So I came in January of 1998, so a little over 23 years ago. Lateraled over, came as a deputy, immediately just sort of jumped in and became a field training officer fairly quickly. I took the boats for a year, which was just a tremendous amount of fun to actually work full-time, running out on the lakes, doing the boat thing. But then, you know, it was funny because we'd be out there and, you know, we're trying to make sure everybody is having fun. That was my goal. The enforcement was a component, but it was I just wanted people to have fun. I've grown up water skiing my entire life. I'm a boater, so I get it. And people are like, wow, you have the greatest job in the world. This is awesome. I go, you know what? You're drinking a beer and it's 102 out. So tell me about who's having fun right now.
But you get to be on the lake all the time, right?
Exactly. I was always going around to the different lakes. You know, whether it was Bear River, I'd go to when it was super hot. And, you know, we spent most of the time in Comanche because that's where most of the action is and stuff going on.
Absolutely. What other areas of the department have you kind of overseen or been involved in? Obviously, as the sheriff, you oversee the entire department, but what are some of the other responsibilities that you've had throughout your career here that maybe most people might not know?
So really early on, I got on the SWAT team.
Okay.
So I was a SWAT operator, which I really enjoyed. A lot of extra training, firearms tactics, that type of stuff. A lot of fun missions, a lot of hard missions. So I really enjoyed that. I did that for 16 years, 8 years as the team leader.
Okay.
Which really I was able to teach that knowledge that I learned over the years, and the training with different SEAL team operators, things along those lines that I was able to teach my new guys. I was in charge of our canines for a while. I was in charge of our community-oriented policing program for a while. Those are things that I really enjoyed. Then I got into kind of the admin side just over a decade ago.
Okay.
I was a patrol sergeant for almost 10 years also. Okay. So I was out doing patrol, supervising, all those extra duties. The admin side really is what brought me to this position. We're very much like the military. We're a paramilitary organization, so you start off as the Air Force as an airman on the NCO, and then you get into lieutenants and all the way up to generals. And now I'm kind of the general.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at my position as the commanding officer. So I've worked every single position coming up, from admin, lieutenant, captain, and from there I was able to get into the different aspects of the sheriff's office, because there are so many.
Yeah.
We have an operations side, which is your patrol, your investigations, your dispatch. Then we have the jail side, and that is a completely different animal because I've never done that before. So I was fortunate enough to supervise the jail for a couple of years as a captain, and really work with some great people. We've got an awesome group back there that has a really difficult job, but do a very good job doing what they do. It signifies the rank.
Okay.
So I was under Sheriff Martin Ryan, the last sheriff. You get to pick your under sheriff when you become sheriff.
Okay.
Our under sheriff retired, and he picked me as his under sheriff. So for the last 3 years, I've been the under sheriff. And the under sheriff really runs the day-to-day operations of everything in this office. The budget, all that stuff. Now I have a lot of input still. I'm an operations guy. I still keep my hands. That's my personality. Not a micromanager, but I love the operational aspect.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of stuff that goes through me. But that's why you see rank. You see captain's rank. My undersheriff has 3 stars. It's that paramilitary side of us.
Okay. I always wondered, you have the 4-star or 5-star generals, and then the sheriff, you have the stars on there. So I was like, hey, I gotta know. So I wasn't sure. Yeah,
and it's tradition. Sheriff's office is traditionally. I'm not sure exactly when the stars started. When Amador County first formed its sheriff's office, I believe it was the office of the sheriff.
Oh.
One guy.
One guy. Wow.
And then I think it turned into a deputy, and it was the sheriff and the deputy.
You got to wear all the badges.
So you really didn't need to wear a lot of stars back then.
That's true.
As we talked, this is one of the reasons why I actually did get into law enforcement, because that's not something that I wanted to do. I really wanted to be an aircraft mechanic. That was kind of my passion in life at the time. And the military they have other choices, but I'm very open with the fact that when I was 16, I was not running with a great crowd. I had a very good childhood. There's no issues with my childhood. Good family. I grew up in LA. I was surfing, going to school, playing football, doing the usual stuff a kid's gonna do. Not the greatest student in the world. I think I would rather surf and play football.
I don't blame you.
But I passed. But I was running with kind of the wrong crowd, and we did some stupid things. And I ultimately, when I was 16 and I just got my license, my dad said, "Don't screw this up." Well, I got arrested by LA County Sheriff. Not so much for something I did. I was hanging around with the crowd. It was some stupid vandalism that they did, and I happened to be driving, so I was caught up in that. Fortunately, I never ended up with a record. I ended up doing some community service through probation, and that really kind of defined me, because there was, you know, I can either stay with that crowd, or I can actually listen to what my parents have said my entire life was, there's consequences for your actions.
Yeah.
Everything you do has consequences, and that's something I've always related to my kids that are now grown and are successful, was, hey, everything you do is going to have a consequence. Yeah. And I tried to impart that on to the youth that I've contacted throughout my career. Another moment that I always remember, and I try to remember this when I'm contacting the youth of Amador County, is, do I want to make a decision that affects them for the rest of their life? Right before I went into the military, a buddy of mine, we're waiting for a bowling alley lane to come up. We're out in my pickup truck, and we're drinking a couple beers. You know, we weren't planning on driving for hours and hours, but we had a couple beers. Well, somebody saw us, and the next thing I know, there's Torrance PD, a couple guys pull us out of the car, and they're like, what in the heck are you guys doing? We're waiting for a lane, we're just drinking a couple beers, because that's what 19-year-olds do.
Yeah.
Not real smart about it in a parking lot. They poured it out and said, you know, you're getting ready to go in the military. What do you think the military is going to do? And I said, they probably won't let me in. I already had to explain that one arrest, and I barely got in because of that. They let me go and said, kids, get your butt inside the bowling alley. And we did. And that's something that I've never forgotten. And I've really, for me, you know, I was given that break. Not everything a child does or a youth does goes to that level, to where, you know, we have to take action. We have discretion. We really do. There's some things that we don't, but we do have a lot of discretion in this job.
That's a huge moment, like, in your life, like, because if they do arrest you, and then you have this record, the Air Force kicks you out, you don't have an Air Force career, you're not in Germany, you don't meet your wife, and then you don't end up in Amador County as a deputy and a sergeant, and now first the undersheriff, and now as the sheriff. So that's a big moment, like, that a law enforcement officer was able to offer that discretion and kind of offer some grace, in a sense, to you, and be like, hey man, like, get it together.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I remember they chewed on us pretty good, but ultimately they took the beer away, they poured it out, and they let us go. And the chewing didn't bother me. I was very grateful. And you're absolutely right. That is a huge moment in my life that could have had major consequences. Once again, it's a decision I made consciously to do something stupid, with potentially huge consequences of preventing me to go in the Air Force. Yeah. And the Air Force is the reason why I got into law enforcement. Well, you know, this is where I chose to work. We didn't originally live in this county. My wife wasn't working at the time. We had just had our second daughter. I took a pretty significant pay cut from LAPD coming here, which I was okay with. Yeah. But it forced us to live in Calaveras, which was actually cheaper. And her family still lived in Sonora. She still had family members, so we didn't want to be too far away. Okay. We've recently, about 4.5 years ago, when the kids got out of the house, we downsized. I got rid of some of the property we had, horses and all that. They were in 4-H and whatnot. So we're living in Pine Grove. Okay. But really, I've always worked here, and working here for me is serving this community. Mm-hmm. Yes, I was a resident of Calaveras for a long time, and I was involved in 4-H, coaching, and some other things. But this is where I put all of the majority of my passion and energy, is keeping the people safe in Amador County, doing the right thing for the people of Amador County and this agency. Yeah. And that's where I invested, my time and energy of all the collateral duties and supervisory things that I was involved in. So for the last 25 years or so, really my passion has been law enforcement, and I'm completely honest. It's almost a calling. It's like almost being a pastor or something along those lines. As far as I'm concerned, it was so difficult for me to get into law enforcement because of the way the economy was. That once I finally did, I would have done it for free if I could have raised a family, but that doesn't work. So really, the last few years, when COVID hit, believe it or not, my wife had gotten me a kind of this knife making kit, and I had some time, and I went out to my shop and made a knife, and now I am making knives.
Oh wow!
I buy the blades. I don't forge yet.
Okay.
I want to get into forging one day, but right now I'm way too busy. But I buy the blanks. I buy the wood. I do mostly wood. I do some resins. The different mosaic pins and all that style. I kind of put them together and grind away and shape and finish. And I've got my own logo, which is Redman Customs.
Okay.
And so I'm making knives.
Can they find that on Facebook?
You can find it on. I post a lot of stuff on my own Facebook.
Okay.
Really, what I've been doing is I make a lot of knives for friends, and I've been giving them away.
Yeah.
I have sold some knives to people in the community that know me.
That's cool.
I'm donating now to different organizations.
Very cool.
I'm part of Top Cop. Which is a nonprofit for veterans, first responders. It's a shooting competition and banquet. Well, I made this this killer Bowie knife. It's a stainless, and I think the blade's about 10 inches long. So I was like, I'm going to make something really big that I've never done before. And the handle's an American flag.
Okay.
So cool. I'm calling it the Freedom Knife because it kind of goes along with the whole veterans thing.
Yeah, that's
awesome. That's really kind of my passion. I got into strongman, which is weird when you say, you tell people strongman. Well, what is strongman? Strongman's lifting heavy stuff. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Boulders, tires, logs, chains.
That's the one where like the guys they've got like the big wine barrels and they throw them like 30 feet over the wall. Yeah. Is that like what we're talking about?
That's part of it. Kegs, yeah. Filled with sand. 100-pound keg trying to lift it. And I've got a buddy that I met in my neighborhood who has been doing this. He was a bodybuilder, really into this. Okay. And he's kind of mentoring me in it.
All right.
And I'm just having a blast because I've never done anything like that. With SWAT, with my career, I've always worked out. I've had to stay in shape.
Yeah.
But this is something totally different, and it's fun. We just do some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, can we lift this 500-pound yoke and just walk around with it? Let's see. Let's give it a try.
So the phrase "don't mess with the sheriff" is a serious thing when you're lifting heavy weights.
Well, I'm not a real big guy, but I can throw some weight around.
I did see this is totally in this regard is a friend and two guys. They called each other and said, "Hey, we're going to work out. Meet me at the house." And so he just like, "Let's do it." And they put on their weighted like tactical vests. Each one of them had one of those on. And I think they put on like 135 pounds onto a deadlift bar. And they just walked and did lunges in like their neighborhood for 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh, wow.
And they said it was like just an intense workout. Both guys are just like dog tired. But it's different stuff. Like it kind of gets you, involved. And like I started going back to the gym and really have started loving that and eating healthy and doing all that fun stuff. And it's unique when you challenge yourself with something new, like strongman. That's tough.
Like I said, it's something I've never done before, and it's fun. It's tough. Like I said, you do a farmer's walk, you pick up a couple 100 pounds on each side and deadlift it, and then let's see how far we can walk with this. And it beats you up, but I'm 53 years old. Like I said, I've always been in really good shape because of the military, LAPD, SWAT. 53, I'm in better shape than I probably ever have been. Which is a good thing. It gives me longevity.
Absolutely, that's awesome. So knives and strongman.
Yeah, and I've got my '64 Ford Fairlane, which I had in high school because that was my grandmother's. So that's always a project car, and I enjoy going to car shows, and I'm always tinkering on it.
Yeah.
I bought my daughter this was a little over 10 years ago when she was turning 16. I bought her a CJ7 76.
Yeah.
And of course, when she went off to college, we had to get her a more reliable car.
Mm-hmm.
So I inherited that CJ7.
Bummer.
It's really weird how that worked out. So I do a little wheeling up in the backcountry with my buddies, and nothing extreme, but we'll go and for a weekend and fish and just kind of hang out with the guys.
My 3-year-old Hudson, he absolutely loves Jeeps.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter where we're at. He's got a little hawk eyes. He finds a Jeep. Dad, check that one out. I'm like, all right, man. Like, he's all about it. And it was really cool is one of your deputies, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were at the casino gas station. Mm-hmm. And one of my good friends was an ex-K-9 officer. And my son has seen his dog time and time again and loves his dog.
Yeah.
And he goes, Dad, there's a policeman. And I was like, yeah? I said, do you want to say hi? And he said, yeah. So he got real shy, and it was one of your K-9 officers. And he goes, you want to see my dog? And so he like rolls the window down, and my son kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool, like, but a little scary too.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I got a wristband for you. I got something for you. And so he opens the back door and hands him a wristband with the 2 K-9 dogs' names on it. And my son's like, thanks. And last night, actually, I was at home, and he comes in the room, and he's got his K-9 band on, and he's like, Dad, you know who gave me this? The policeman at the gas station. And so, it's those positive sort of interactions that, like, my son has had with a couple deputies that's been super positive in trying to, encourage that sort of interaction with him to, the climate that we're sometimes in, especially right now.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, and I expect that, and almost demand that out of the deputies, because that's how I've always presented myself my entire career. And I actually ran the K-9 program for a while, and we really picked dogs based on, we want a good working dog that is capable of tracking a suspect and doing what the dog needs to do, but they have to have that personality, and they have to be able to, have 5 kids jump on top of them at a school and just play.
Yeah.
And there are some canines that are capable of doing that in our career, and there's other canines that aren't.
No.
So we really pick dogs based on that, because we are part of the community.
Yeah.
And we need to be part of this community, and that the canine is part of that interaction.
Absolutely.
Really what I would say, unfortunately there are some interactions that always don't go the way we want them to go. And I'm talking about people in the public. They have certain expectations. We are human beings, I have a really hellacious workout. I'm super sore. I didn't get enough sleep, and I wake up and I come to work, and you say something that kind of tees me off. You might get a reaction out of me, and unfortunately, that's just the way. We're not robots. My thing is I didn't know I wanted to do this career until I was 19 years old, pushing 20. And you never know. You never know what is out there for you. So I was very fortunate to grow up in a good family. That, like I said, my dad, my mom talked about making those right choices. I always didn't make those right choices, but I never did anything so heinous that it kept me out of this career field.
Yeah.
And think about that. You never know where you're going to end up, whether it's in law enforcement or if it's another career that has certain expectations of character, morals, ethics. All those things come into play. So my thing is, hey, just think about that. Think about where would I like to be when I'm 30 years old.
Yeah.
And this choice I'm going to make, is it going to help me or hurt me? If it's going to hurt you, it's pretty easy. It's pretty obvious. Don't do it.
That's true.
I mean, it really is, and I get it. Like I said, I was there. I made some of those knucklehead choices, and paid the price at the time, but fortunately it was nothing that precluded me. This is a great career, folks. It really, really is. I know we've been kind of vilified, and there's a lot of public perception of the negative side, but there is a huge positive side that we do get to go out and have a great impact in the community that we live and serve in. That's tremendous. To me, that's huge. And I had such a passion with this in the beginning. Like I said, I would have done it for free. And it's the fact that every day is different. You never know what's going to happen. You're not coming in and sitting down at a desk like I am right now with a computer. And you know, it's kind of like, oh, it's the same thing over and over again. There is a lot of excitement. It's hard. It's difficult at times. But it is very, very rewarding at the same time.
Awesome. Sheriff Redman, thank you so much for your time and some encouragement and just letting us get to know you a little bit. And obviously we see your dog and some of the other stuff behind
you.
You.
Yeah, my little golden doodle. She's a big part of my life. Since my kids are gone out of the house. So
we appreciate it. Thank you, and we look forward to catching up with you next time.
Thank you.